So in RTSs, obviously we have, our combat element. Well, I mean, what RTS doesn't have combat? So there are three ways of going about it, though. You can do it through cultural suppression. You generate media centers or some other form of spreading your culture, your religion, your message, whatever it is. Again, it depends upon your species that you're playing as. And you can take over enemy planets through fighting. You don't even have to build a single ship. You just build up some cultural things. It's slow. It's the most slowest form of conquer, but it's one of the easiest to maintain because you just spread your culture and cities will just fall into rebellion and become your own. So it's definitely a great option for sieging fortified positions. So if you have a choke point and the enemy knows it and he's got like a lot of defense turrets and a lot of ships there, you don't even have to send an army in. Just take over the planet from the inside out and it just slowly turns it into your own, and then bam, all of a sudden the enemy has lost that planet and he didn't even know what hit him. Then you can also do it through economic power. When playing with people, this works less effective against AI, of course. You can literally buy out other players. You can send them gifts. You can threaten them. You can imperialize. You can stand there and say, "Hey, I can pay you a bunch of money for us to to become friends. We'll sign peace treaties. We'll end war talks, and we'll become part of the same group." Or I can blast you off of the face of the galaxy. Your choice. So you can play around with all these different means, which means it's really conducive to people with multiple fighting styles or different fighting styles. So you can just go around and pretty much do as you please. There are also other elements into the game, particularly being a randomized element, which are pirates, space pirates. Or renegades, whatever you want to call them. Pretty much what these guys are is they're comm units, or AI units, that have no loyalty to anyone, and at random times will launch raids against a particular player. So what happens is, at any time, you can place a bounty on other players' heads, in which now whoever has the highest bounty on them is who the pirates will attack. So this causes furious bidding and infighting between players trying to raise the bounty on each other to give each other that edge. So this way you can either time your own attack with a pirate raid or just use it to harass your enemy. However, this is also somewhat of a downside to the game, as eventually later on it becomes obnoxious because during the last few seconds before a raid is launched, but after it's been announced, there's furious bidding going on, and it just expends resources that you usually don't have. Which brings me to the next topic. The resource rate is very slow. This is a very long game. I mean, even when you set the resource rate up to high and you have, a lot of planets that are generating stuff, it's still mind-numbingly slow on how much you generate, and especially for the cost of all of your units. It makes the matches so grueling at times, and it kind of starts to beg the question as to why you're going through with it. But that only ends up happening if you play much later on into the game. But it does end up being a very long game. Even playing on an easy game mode with just 4 players takes around 3 hours to complete, just due to the size of the maps and how slow you generate your armies. And the other thing that it adds to the slowness of the game is travel. When ships are moving inside of a planetary system, or a planet's gravity well, as it's called, you can move around fine. It's very fluid and very easy. But when they travel from planet to planet, they first have to move to the edge of the gravity well, line themselves up, and then they start doing a phase jump, which is kind of like some sort of light speed thing, in which then they travel from planet to planet. This is very slow, and it begins to slow down an army. So especially when during a fight, if you need reinforcements, they're not getting there anytime soon. So this will be the part where I start to talk about the story. However, there isn't one. Really. There is absolutely no campaign mode of any kind, strictly online play, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but RTSs usually work when you have some form of story or plot behind them. And the only background you ever get in the whole game, the entire thing, is a short couple-minute cinematic at the beginning of the game when you first open it up with all like the title sequences, which loosely bases the game. Pretty much what you can barely scrape away from it, and this is also from that opening cinematic, their instruction manual, and on their website. I've pulled all this together. So, what I can deduce, now mind you, you have to deduce your own story, it's not even tells it to you. There is the TEC, which is some sort of like human empire. Apparently they're the good guys. Then there's the Vasari, some alien race with really cool technology that show up in like enslaved planets. They're the bad guys. And then there's the Advent, which are some sort of like traitors to the human race, but the Vasari don't like them, so they like went away centuries ago and now they're back and they got like cool alien space sleek technology or something. And that's about it. That's all you get. So there's virtually no story. Pretty much you're just given the bare minimum to understand, which is kind of a letdown, especially with something like this. You could have an amazing campaign mode, but they didn't do it. I'm assuming the creating staff got lazy or got fired, because that's the only real logic I can assume as to why you would not create a story or at least a campaign mode for a game that could have been amazing with it. So now comes the online play, the other aspect of the game, well, more like the only aspect of the game. It's pretty good, as I said, with the the combat system and multiple ways and logistics and the expansion. It's nice. There's also expansion packs for it to add more content. However, the online community is kind of a letdown due to the game being old, plus it's more of a hardcore RTS gamer type thing than more of like the casual thing. So the online is few people. There's enough to get a game going at least, but you're probably going to be seeing the same people a couple times over. So pretty much all in all, a good game. Definitely some letdowns here and there, but if you and your friends team up together and such, you could definitely waste just hours on this game playing. I mean, you'll start at at noon or something. You'll be finishing it at 4 in the morning. It's a blast, all right? If you're a hardcore RTS fan out there and you're looking for a new game to play or something to suck up some time, definitely pick this up. This has been Twisted from Open Fire Gaming, and enjoy your gaming out there.